I'd like to call the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for January 20th, 2022 to order. This being the first meeting of 2022, the first order of business is to appoint a chair and vice chair for the year, so for the year of 2022. I'd like to ask if any members wish to bring forward a name for the chair at this time.
Yes,
Yes, Janet.
I would like to appoint Brad, or not appoint, but nominate Brad for chair again this year for 2022.
Okay.
And yeah.
Did you have a vice chair in mind, or?
Yes, and if Kathy would like to continue as vice chair for 2022.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to bring forward any names, nominations, rather?
Yeah, I would like to nominate Brad as co-chair, a chair, and Katie as co-chair as well.
Okay, thank you, Fernando. So I'll start with Brad. Are you accepting first off the nomination to continue as chair?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
And likewise for Kathy, are you willing to act as vice chair for again this year?
Sure, that would be fine.
Okay. So I'll just bring that to a vote. So the resolution for the minutes will read that that we appoint the chair as Brad DeFore and vice chair as Kathy Baranski for the 2022 term. If everyone's in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and I don't see anyone not in favor, so that will be carried. Thank you. Brad, if you wanted to take over the role of chair of the meeting and go on to the next item, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chantel. Thank you, everybody, for your nominations, and look forward to another great year. I'd like to ask if any members of the committee have any disclosures of pecuniary interests. Okay, seeing none, I'll put forward a motion to confirm the minutes from the previous meeting. Can I get somebody to move that motion, please? Thank you, Aaron. And somebody to second that motion. Thank you, Kathy. And by show of hands, all in favor of that motion? Okay, that motion's carried. Thank you. We'll move to our first application. The file number is A029/2021. The property is located at 35 Elkin Court in Fergus. And relief is being requested to permit a parking space, a reduced distance of 4.6 meters from the street line. The effect of the variance is to allow the owner to construct a wheelchair ramp in the garage, the required parking space, and recognize the required parking space to be on the driveway. Chantel, can you confirm that signage has been posted at the property?
Yes, I can confirm that the sign was posted at the property and in accordance with the Planning Act requirements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chantel. I'd like now to ask upon the agent or the application or the applicant to speak on behalf of this request. Please introduce yourself. I think you're on mute. Do we have the applicant here?
I'm here. I think I figured out the mute.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
My name is Frank Bandiera. I am the architect and agent for this application. With our application, we submitted some drawings and a covering letter. I think the covering letter is fairly self-explanatory. I'll be very brief, touch on a few points. The homeowner is in a wheelchair and requires to have level access and a covered access, of course, into his home. This seems to be the most efficient, most logical, and just a straightforward approach to accommodating the homeowner. There's been some minor alterations inside the house. Now we need to get them into the house to live a fairly normal life. The front porch was the other option, but it would have been too intrusive from a streetscape. So the garage was the most logical location for the porch lift. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, great. Yep, take any questions now from members of the committee. Okay, I'm seeing none. Do any members of the committee have questions for township staff at this time? Okay, seeing none as well. Chantal, can you confirm if we have any registered delegates for or against the application?
I don't believe we have anyone registered to delegate, unless Carrie or Lisa have known someone to be let in. But there's someone else in the room, but I'm not sure if that's the homeowner or not. Sorry, I don't recognize the names. But otherwise, we haven't received any written opposition to the application.
Thank you for confirming. We'll move to a roundtable discussion with members of the committee to discuss the merits of the request. Kathy, we'll start with you.
I don't have any problems. I think it seems to be a good solution. It will be way less visible if it's inside the garage than if it's in the front porch. I would have to approve this application.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Fernando?
I'm like Kathy. I don't have any particular concerns with this application. I think it is a very practical solution. I think the access through the garage is very clever, I would say. That will not affect the aesthetics of the house. So.
Okay, thanks, Fernando. And Aaron?
I have no concerns. There doesn't appear to be any adverse impacts to the streetscape or the public right of way, so I'm supportive.
Thank you, Aaron. And Janice?
I would have to agree with the other members. It is very minor in nature, and upon looking at the property, there's definitely sufficient parking for at least 2 vehicles, and I think it can accommodate just fine. I'm very much in support of the application, and good solution. Yes.
Thank you, Janice. And I would agree as well. I think this is minor in nature, and I'm also in support. Chantal, could you read the decision in support of the request, please?
I can. That in the matter of application for minor variance for relief from the Township of Center Wellington zoning bylaw 2009-045 as amended, section 5.3.1.1, permission be granted to permit a parking space a reduced distance of 4.6 meters from the street line in lieu of the required minimum setback of 6 meters from the street line and to the rear of the front wall of the main building or structure.
Okay, thank you, Chantal. Could I get somebody to move that motion, please? Thank you, Fernando. Could I get somebody to second that motion? Thank you, Kathy. And by show of hands, all in favor? Okay, that motion is moved and your request is approved pending a 20-day appeal period. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, we'll move to the second application today, file number A030/2021. Property is located at 127 John Street in Elora. Relief is being requested to permit a reduced lot area of 308.58 square meters as opposed to the required lot area of 325 square meters for an accessory apartment, and further to permit a reduced distance of 0 meters from the street line to the rear of the front wall of the main building or structure as opposed to the required 6.0 meters. The effect of the variance is to allow for construction of an accessory apartment in a semi-detached dwelling. Trento, can you confirm that signage has been posted at the property?
Hi, yes, I can confirm that the signage was posted in accordance with the Planning Act requirements.
Okay.
I also
thank you.
wanted to note, Brad, that there was that letter received via email, and I hope it went to was circulated to the members. I'm seeing
Yep.
that people received it. Okay, I just want to
Yep.
confirm that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'd like now to ask the applicant to speak on behalf of the request, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so what our goal is here is, because it is a raised bungalow property, was to provide additional space in the basement as a separate unit. Want to go through all the proper ways to get it done and ensure that we're in accordance with all the bylaws and everything, which of course we ran into that the lot was a little too small and that our parking would be too close to the property line at the front. So we're just hoping to address that and see where we get to, if that's satisfactory.
Great, thank you. Do any
Sorry,
members?
can I just interrupt, Brad? I just don't know the name of the person that's representing.
My apologies. It's Dave Cutten. I wasn't
Cutten.
sure how to change my name on this.
Okay, just need that for the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the committee who have questions for Mr. Cutten? Yes, Kathy?
I noticed on the drawing that the driveway is to be extended a little bit. There's a tree in the middle of the front yard. Are you proposing to keep the tree?
Yes, I am. The trees won't be affected. There's quite a bit of distance there, and the roots aren't above ground or anything like that. So it's going to be widened by about 1 meter and shouldn't affect any of the trees in the front yard.
I have one more question.
Yep, go ahead, Kathy.
When I went to look at the property, I noticed that there was a trailer and a truck and some other things in the parking areas that are proposed for the apartment. I'm wondering how you're going to manage keeping all of those closer to the house, or whether something will be done about organizing that in a different space. It just appears that there's going to be way too many vehicles in that driveway in order to stay away from the side, like the road.
Yes, so actually it's in the lease. We've maybe our own fault that we gave some leniency to the current tenant because we haven't moved forward with the basement yet. But it's right in the lease. He gets 2 parking spaces. He's fully aware of that. It's just a single gentleman who has a work SUV and then his personal truck. And we did say that permit him to just leave his trailer there until we move forward with the basement unit pending approval. So it will be highly regulated. I drive by it several times a day just to make sure everything's good, as I do with my other rental property. So we're thinking that it will actually be a cleaner look than what it is right now, which I mean, he's under that understanding that it's going to be cleaned right up and could be done tomorrow if necessary.
Thank you. Just checking.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any other questions? Yes, Janice?
Yes, and the shed, it's scheduled to be removed as well, to give that extra space as well for the open space and whatnot.
Correct. Yep. So that shed, we're lucky it hasn't blown down at this point, so it will definitely be removed. So it'll be less of an eyesore for one. And also it'll be a nice garden sitting area in the back behind the driveways.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Yes, Fernando.
In regards to the existing shed, is that sitting on an actual driveway, or it's on stilts or something like that?
Right now, as far as I know, it's just sitting on the grass. There may be some sort of a base underneath it, some sort of a base, but it's about I'm not sure exactly how many meters here, but a fair distance behind the existing driveway with some grassy area between the back of the driveway and the front of the shed.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a question, Aaron?
Yeah, just a question for staff. Parking is permitted on the street here. Is that correct?
Thank you. Through you, I am not 100% sure. I assume there is street parking. I can do a quick look at the aerial photo.
Okay, so maybe just while you're checking that, the resident that had written in with concerns, I believe illegal on-street parking was cited, but if on-street parking is permitted, if there's any abuse of that on-street parking for too long, or infringing on driveways, they can contact bylaw enforcement for that.
Yes, they would be able to. We do have parking enforcement now. So if there is a concern, then that concern, I believe, can be sent through to the clerk's department, if I'm not mistaken, or through bylaw enforcement, and then that would get reviewed. But if you wanted me to check, I'm pretty sure there is on-street parking here. One more second here. Yes. So I can confirm that there is on-street parking here, at least on the one side, the east side, which is the side closest to the dwelling.
Great, thanks.
Mr. Cutten, did you have something to add to that?
I think recently the on-street parking was moved to the west side because there were a few no parking signs put up on the east side, which are actually kind of hard to see. It might be something to look into because they face directly onto the road. So as you approach, if you're heading north, you can't even see those signs. Just to speak to that too, I've seen quite a few vehicles parked in front of our subject property, but none have been my current tenant, although I have seen him parked across the street legally, but again, in front of the townhouses as a part of the Station Square development. So that may have been a little bit of confusion, but I don't, again, I see it quite often during the day, but not all day, every day, of course.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Mariana. Do we have any more questions for township staff? Yes, Fernando?
Question for staff. I was looking at the zoning bylaw, and it says that the minimum requirement for a residential parking space is 3 meters. So if I take that in mind, it will require a 6 meter width, and the one that the homeowner is proposing is 5.5. Is that correct?
Actually, so I can clarify a little bit there. We do have 2 areas in our zoning bylaw that speak to residential parking. If you're talking about an individual property, there's one section that references a minimum of 3 by 6 meters, typically on a driveway. There is another section that references minimum residential parking space dimensions of 2.75 by 5.5. So there are 2 conflicting sort of regulations that we do anticipate cleaning up very shortly through housekeeping amendments and other revisions we'll be doing to our parking section, actually. But the minimum for a feasible parking space and minimum dimensions that we go by are 2.75 by 5.5 in terms of feasibility for parking, particularly in this case where the province has required us to allow tandem parking for additional dwelling units. We would look at what are the actual minimum dimensions that are required. And so that is the 2.75 by 5.5 is currently what's reflected in our bylaw that we would refer to for a minimum dimension in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Mariana. Do members of the committee have any more questions for township staff. Yes, Janice?
One of the things that I was just wondering, maybe staff, if you thought maybe with the tandem parking, would we maybe consider the idea of, because I know the idea is to increase the width to 5.5. So would we make that a condition, or could we make it a condition of the variance?
Sorry, could you clarify specifically what the condition would be?
Well, it would be to increase the width of the parking area, like the tandem parking. Let's see where.
The width of the driveway?
Yes.
The side
from
by
the-
side. So
Yeah.
tandem is one behind the other.
Oh, sorry,
So-
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm getting my terminology mixed up. The existing 4.5 meters to 5.5 meters.
Yes.
The width of the parking spaces. Yeah.
If the committee would like to, I'm not sure if I had recommended that as a condition, but definitely if the committee feels that a condition is needed, then that can be added. The plan does show that the owner anticipates widening to 5.5, and that is
Yeah.
one of the things that staff suggested because of the minimum parking dimensions. We wanted the bylaw requires one space per unit, so one for the main dwelling and one for the apartment,
Yeah.
regardless of whether there might be more anticipated, but one is a minimum per unit. And what we suggested is that the driveway be widened in order to allow the cars to be able to freely move in and out of that space further in, so that you're not disturbing, obviously the people that are living in the units. So it's not necessarily intended as a parking space, but more as just a sufficient width for two vehicles to drive by each other. But yes, it should be a minimum of 5.5 to allow that, to facilitate that. And that still meets the minimum or maximum driveway width. So yes, I would suggest adding that as a condition if the committee agrees.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Janice. Yes, Kathy?
This is for staff. How much of the front yard can be sort of used as parking area in a residential dwelling before it becomes like a parking lot? Because I can foresee that, as we continue to get these kinds of requests, I just want to know sort of how much of your front yard you have to leave as green space or like yard space.
Yes, that's a good point, Kathy. Thank you for the question. So when we look at these accessory apartments being added to any properties, we want to be mindful of the parking situation, because we don't want to create a situation where the bulk of the front yard is being used for parking. So the bylaw itself here requires, this is zoned R2. So that's the typical zoning for small lot singles or semi-detached. And the requirement is that the width of the driveway cannot exceed 55% of the lot width, up to a maximum width of 7.5 meters. So when we look at, and I did the calculations before, so the lot width. I know it doesn't exceed 55, it's just under, just trying to find it. I don't know if the owner knows offhand here exactly what the lot width is. So 38.58 feet converted to meters. So it's 11.76 meters. 55% would be 6.5 meters. So the driveway can be 6.5 meters wide before it's considered too wide. And that's that consideration is built into the zoning bylaw to ensure that not too much of a lot is taken up by driveway. So it is still well under the maximum driveway width at 5.5 meters.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Kathy. And in response, Mariana, do we have any more questions for town staff? Yes, Fernando?
Mariana, does that calculation include the curb as well?
It's only a lot width calculation, and the curb and the sidewalk and any of that area is outside of that. So this percentage of width is taken only within the actual property. So if you look at the survey on page 18 of the plan, and even the sketch that was submitted by the applicant, as I believe the next page, that's not where the street is, that's where the front property line begins. So beyond that is actually additional right-of-way area, which is grass boulevard. There's no sidewalk on this side, but the curb cut and all that is outside of this property diagram and plan that was submitted and the calculations that we do. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions for township staff?
Brad, I would just like to, I got some clarification on the parking. So if there was a complaint on the on-street parking, it would still be referred to the OPP. So any complaints go to the OPP. Otherwise, we do have parking enforcement, but that's only for our downtown cores of Fergus and Elora. So anything else goes through the OPP. Hope that helps.
Okay, thank you, Chantal. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, we'll move to a roundtable discussion between members of the committee. We'll start with you, Aaron.
I'm supportive. There's other double width driveways in close proximity to this location. And in regards to the complaint that was received, that resident does have options for addressing any illegal on-street parking. So I'm supporting.
Thank you. Janice?
Yes, I would be in support of the application with the condition of requiring the 5.5 meters. Yeah, I think it's not really going to change a lot. I think actually it will clean up after our discussions. It will kind of clean up the property and sort of address some of those concerns that the person writing in had an objection to as well. So yeah, I can support the application.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Fernando?
Yeah, I don't have any particular concerns with this application. I think all the questions were answered positively through staff and the homeowner. And like Jenny said, if there's any particular concern with the parking down the road, I guess will be addressed by OPP, I guess, in this case. So I'm support of this application.
Okay, thank you, Fernando. And Kathy?
Yes, I can support the application also with the condition that Janice mentioned. And I'm happy to see that we are doing some sensitive infill that is going to really help with the need for housing.
Great, thanks a lot, Kathy. I'm also in support of this as well. And I think Mr. Cutten's explanation regarding the complaint received provides enough, rationale that that's going to be addressed. And I also agree with Kathy about the infill project. This is great for the community, so I'm in support. Chantal, can you confirm if we have any registered delegates?
No, we did not receive any registered delegates, and the letter that I forwarded you via email was the only written correspondence we received. I just want to touch base on the or ask for some input on the condition that was discussed. So are we tying the condition to anything? Or are we just saying that the driveway shall be a maximum of 5.5 meters? Do you want that done within a certain time frame? I don't know what makes sense at this point. If are we tying it to building occupancy or what?
Yeah, I think tying it to the building occupancy makes sense to me.
So just suggesting that you could say prior to issuance of a building permit.
Yeah.
Randy, if you want to comment on this, but prior to issuance of a building permit, that it be confirmed that the driveway is widened to 5.5 meters.
Randy?
And I would say it's not even just a maximum, but a minimum of 5.5 meters.
I would not tie it to the issuance of a building permit. The reason I say that is because Mr. Cutten may wish to have his plans finalized and submit for permit at the end of the appeal period, but he could do renovations. He could start renovations prior to winter leaving us, hopefully sooner rather than later. It's too cold. But he could do an awful lot of work, but he can't really do the driveway widening until the spring. He can't really, do that until, like, realistically. I mean, I suppose he could, but it would be a lot more difficult. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is I think we should tie it to prior to granting occupancy for the apartment, that the driveway is widened to 5.5 meters. I just don't want to tie it to the issuance of a building permit because that's going to kind of handcuff Mr. Cutten into what he can do for several months. There's an awful lot he can do to renovate the house itself before he widens the driveway. And we have the control to not grant occupancy for the apartment until the driveway is widened. So.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Is that agreeable to the other members of the committee?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. It makes more sense, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I agree too.
Agree.
Okay, Chantal, when you're ready, can you read the decision in support?
Yes, thanks.
Thanks.
That in the matter of application for minor variance for relief from the Township of Center Wellington zoning bylaw 2009-045 as amended, section 4.1, table 4A, permission be granted to permit an accessory apartment on a reduced minimum lot size of 308.58 meters squared in lieu of the required minimum lot area of 325 meters squared. And further, section 5.3.1.1, permission be granted to permit a parking space a reduced distance of 0 meters from the street line in lieu of the required minimum setback of 6 meters from the street line and to the rear of the front wall of the main building or structure, subject to the following condition. Number 1, prior to granting occupancy of the accessory apartment, the driveway shall be widened to a minimum of 5.5 meters.
Great, thank you, Chantal. Could I get somebody to move that motion? Thank you, Janice, and somebody to second. Thank you, Fernando. And all in favor by show of hands. Okay, that is carried. And Mr. Cutten, there's a 20-day appeal period before you can proceed with the building permit. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, everyone, for your time as well. Have a great day.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move to discuss any other business for the committee. Chantal, do we have anything?
I don't have anything to add other than there will be a meeting next month. It is on, oh my goodness, I think February 17th. Might be right. I don't have a calendar in front of me. But anyways, yeah, there's a meeting in February. We'll have 2 applications so far. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to adjourn the meeting. Can I get somebody to move that motion? Thanks, Aaron. And somebody to second. Thank you, Kathy. And by show of hands, all in favor? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.